So, what's going on in the studio? The quarantine and all. Well, no one's here. We're all working from home. Just doing a little bit of cleaning and degreasing. Do you have to degrease the set often? It's like, well, sometimes those laptop reviews, they get a little messy, and then you've got to, yes, degreasing is involved. A fair bit. One of the main things that makes my life easier, production value, I don't want to put time into a camera crew and planning and not rambling, and it's, a certain weakness, a certain lack of accessibility to the average Joe person is going to come with that. But one of the pieces of equipment that we do have that I really like is this repurposed medical rolly cart. We call her Rosie. It's got a soundboard on it, which is great. It's like used third hand. It's a pretty good mixing board. It's a pretty good upgrade over our older mixing board. And there's a pull-out keyboard tray and a 32-inch monitor from Korea that's not, it's a little flaky. It's got some problems, but it's 4K, which is great. DisplayPort 1.2. And then it's got a computer strapped to the back of it. And this is what we use for our live streams and our live capture, because you can just roll this cart wherever you need it. It's got a Magewell capture card. That is the single most expensive piece of equipment in the entire thing. It's a Magewell Pro Capture, 4K, 60 Hertz. It's $1,000 capture card. And Magewell, they never go on sale. They do not budge on the price. They don't send out reviews. I mean, sometimes they'll send out review loaners, but I tried to borrow a card from Magewell and they were just like, no. Sorry. I was like, well, I don't blame you, I guess, but they're really good. They're not cutting edge. So I really would love to have the dual port or the quad port, but the dual port is $2,000. It's $1,700-$1,800, and level 1's doing pretty good, but no. Get some Blackmagic 4K Intensity Pros. Those are pretty cheap. You can get those on the secondhand market for around $100. They'll do 4K 30. That's good enough. It's good enough. But the problem is that our capture machine, which has been our capture machine forever, is the 8700K, and it's basically a launch day 8700K. Intel, it's high clock speed, 6 cores. It's great. It's from a time when OBS was architected to run on a relatively small number of threads, and the really high clock speed of the 8700K, this machine's stable at 5 gigahertz, has worked well. It's not really great anymore, though. We need something with a little bit more horsepower. Enter the ASRock Creator X299. The ASRock Creator X299 is a pretty good X299 motherboard. It's actually a great X299 motherboard. It's pretty good in this use case because we've got 4 expansion slots, one of which is used for the GPU. We've got 3 M.2, so we can use M.2 storage. I've actually got an M.2 to U.2 adapter, and we've got our Sliger. Our Sliger, teeny tiny. Look at this. I reviewed this case. This is a tiny, full-size, full ATX case. We've got our micro power supply in there. We've got a 1 terabyte liquid NVMe in there. This is great for video capture and longevity, and it's so much smaller than the Brobdingnagian full-size ATX case strapped to the back of this medical cart. This medical cart, as great as it is, but it's got room for that, is awesome. But I would much rather have a smaller, more powerful computer at the back. It's also got a PCI Express by 1 slot, which is great for an old 1080p AverMedia capture card that we have. So this thing can load up all of the capture. I'm probably going to try to modify this at some point to bifurcate one of the by 8 slots into 2 by 4 slots so I could run even more capture cards. There are other X299 motherboards like the Asus WS Sage X299, but it lacks onboard 10 gig, whereas the Creator, the ASRock Creator X299, has onboard 10 gig plus an onboard Intel NIC, plus the ASRock BIOS and the overall platform works exceptionally well with Linux, which is what we use for all of our capture because it just works. We never have to worry about it. And Linux plus Magewell capture is the most stable thing on planet Earth. Asterisk will come back to. So this build is what we use for everything, and it hasn't let us down in a very, very long time, knock on wood. We've got our HDMI capture that we use with our Lumix S1, and we've got the audio going from the soundboard into the camera, and then we just capture everything in directly from the camera. That way we don't have any synchronization issues. It's like, oh, we're gonna do a 4-hour stream talking about how great Dig used to be and how Reddit is crap, and you'll like it too, or that time that something went wrong with something, or another level 1 diagnostic, or a Linux live stream soon. And it's rock solid stable. Can't get that out of Windows. Windows is just like, you know what? I'm going to install an update in the background and just quietly break everything. Oh, you've been running an IPsec connection for 4 days continuously. I'm just going to mysteriously not work anymore because reasons. Oh, I've been, booted too long. When you hit Control-Alt-Delete or you have to run something as administrator, I'm going to make the screen completely black for 30 seconds before I ever pop up anything in the middle because there's some kind of weird memory fragmentation going on, and I'm Windows and I can't figure that out. Yeah, we don't have to deal with any of that on Linux. I mean, Linux is really, if you want rock solid stability, it's amazing. So here's that asterisk with Magewell. Ubuntu 20.04 doesn't work. Doesn't work with the Magewell capture card. The last time the Magewell capture drivers was updated was 2019. It's like May of 2019. That driver you have to download and compile to run with your kernel. Cool. I can do that. That's not a problem. It's annoying for noobs to have to deal with. I can deal with that. The problem is that however this Magewell driver is written must not be that great, because generally every time there's a major kernel update, I have to do something completely different to get it to work. And right now it's broken on kernel 5.4. It's an early version of 5.4 in such a way that the module loads, but the load average of the system just slowly climbs. No kernel oopses are generated. There's no kernel panic. It's just eventually the system has a load average of like 500. It's completely unresponsive. And it only does that when the Magewell PCIe card is installed. The very latest version of kernel 5.4, manually installed from kernel.org, does not work. An older kernel, like 4.19, totally works fine. So in our build here, I wanted to use the Sapphire 5600 XT from AMD on Linux because its encoder is pretty magical. And I've got another project where I'm trying to get that H.265 hardware encoder working. Let's not talk about that yet. On Linux. The problem is you need a relatively new Linux kernel to take full advantage of that relatively new GPU. Guess what Magewell doesn't work well with? But that said, the Magewell card, there isn't a more stable card. Like having used the Blackmagic Intensity Pro 4K on Linux, it's got a lot of the same driver quirks in terms of like the compile aspect, but it's just not stable over the long term. We have 2 of these cards. They're great cards. They're great cards for the money. They're relatively inexpensive, especially compared to that $1,000 Magewell. But yeah, we've also got the Epiphan AVIO, which is another great USB capture solution. It's 4K 30 like the Blackmagic stuff. It's not bad. It's pretty good, but it has a little tiny fan on the inside, and the little tiny fan on the inside will age when you use it constantly for YouTube, for video capture. And I want basically an appliance like a medical cart that you just roll in and it's like, click, okay, we're good to go. No more thought. The cameraman is a robot. It's a literal robot. Yeah, it's probably gonna get another Magewell capture card because thank you for everybody that's supporting us so we can get another Magewell capture card. It's really awesome. 4K 60 and then sort of downsampling that for YouTube, or sort of rejuggling that for YouTube is pretty awesome. You don't need 4K 60, but it's nice. It's nice to experiment with the video files and that kind of thing. So now our new Rolly cart upgraded with the Slider Micro PC. We got the Blackmagic Pro 4K, the Epiphan capture, and our Magewell capture. I had to roll back the version of Ubuntu that we were using from 20.04 to 19.04, which is well supported as of, April 15th, 2020. Hey, you remember how I was complaining about Ubuntu 20.04 and the newer versions of the Linux kernel? Guess what Magewell just fixed? Good job, Magewell. I wonder this is level 1. This is just, a quickie look at our Rolly cart and the Sliger case, the tiny Sliger case, which you know, is fabulously expensive for what it is, but it's so tiny. And this system is relatively quiet, given that it's 14 cores, and given that it's X299. I did consider Threadripper, I'll mention that really quickly. I did consider Threadripper, but I didn't think I could cram Threadripper into such a small package. The 3950X was a very strong contender, because the 3950X on Linux with a lot of threads actually does work really well. But for now, we're using the software encoder, and 14 cores is basically fine because the 5500, 5600, I'm not going to be able to use with that older version of the kernel for the thing that I want. I'm going to have to do that experiment in another system because I need a newer kernel to do the unholy thing that I have planned. Oh, it's so many dependencies. Ubuntu 19.04 works fine with the 5600 XT for normal purposes. It's just my purposes are non-normal. Not normal at all. And then the Magewell thing is like 14 cores on the ASRock Creator X299, 3 full-size expansion slots, 1x1 expansion slot, with my intention to bifurcate one of the X8 slots with a little bit of a modified add-in card, maybe pick up the Magewell dual port card, and then I would have 3 4K 60s. We would have a much better live streaming setup, have a much better capture setup for builds and things like that, because then I can have a hardware camera overhead and just record one thing at once and everything's automatically synchronized. That actually makes multi-camera editing way easier. So some experiments. Maybe you guys have more experience with video production than I do and have some ideas, or you want to contribute engagement challenge, but that's what I'm tinkering with in the studio while waiting for this thing to pass. I'm Wendell, this is level 1. There wasn't really any point to this video other than just me talking at the camera. I'm signing out, and I'll see you later. And thanks for watching. It's cool. It's fun. We're surviving. See ya.